Hello fans and viewers, and welcome to another review from the TheAireaidLord. I actually haven't done a review for a video game in quite a long time. I think the last review, coincidentally the last review I did for a game was BioShock Infinite, and that was a well-deserved review because BioShock Infinite was another great title from 2013. I must say that the selection of games throughout the early course of 2013 have been very, very lackluster. We've kind of just had things all over the place, from sequels to games that we thought were going to be good, like Dead Space 3 and Crysis 3, which just really ended up being more of the same nonsense from their predecessors. And then you had, new games like Fuse that were, people were looking to them from studios like Insomniac, who put a lot of time into them, and they ended up just being generic in every possible way. So there's been some ups and downs. BioShock Infinite was a really big breath of fresh air in late March, and it was a great game, had a really twist-ending story, and expanded upon all of the great things that people loved from the first two games. So now, here we are yet again with a title which I have to say is probably my favorite title of 2013 thus far. And it is a PlayStation 3 exclusive called The Last of Us. It's right on my PlayStation 3 screen. Usually when I do these reviews, I usually just have my 360 dashboard for people to look at, because I do reviews better when it's just me talking out loud to my camera and such. But since, I didn't want to have it be the 360 screen because, I have my PlayStation screen and I'd rather have this background for The Last of Us since it's the game that I'm reviewing. So I actually beat The Last of Us not too long ago. It was actually a couple hours ago before I went to get food for dinner. I beat The Last of Us, and then after dinner, I did some multiplayer. I did the multiplayer for The Last of Us with my friend Jack, and we tried out like 3 matches of the regular hunter mode, like survival mode, and then there was the actual survival mode that we did afterwards. So I have tried out all aspects of this game, so I'm fully ready to review it. So, The Last of Us. So it's Naughty Dog's next game. As I said, it's even in the description of The Last of Us videos that I've been uploading, I kind of wanted a new Jak and Daxter from Naughty Dog, because in February 2012, Naughty Dog said that they were working on a new Jak and Daxter, but then they stopped production because they didn't feel like the game was going in the right direction, and instead they thought of new ideas, and from their new ideas they thought of this game, The Last of Us. And I actually kind of feel bad saying that I wished for a new Jak and Daxter. Yes, Jak and Daxter is my favorite game series of all time. I played it when I was little. It was a great series from Naughty Dog. I think that this game did phenomenally well. I can't even speak right now, but let me get into why, alright? Because this game has a lot of different unique aspects, combines things from other games, but has its own unique twist and feels like it's its own game in its own world, which is very rare. Lots of games nowadays feel like they're stealing aspects from other games and kind of just incorporating it into their own, so it feels like just one big mesh of just nonsense. But this game, for all intents and purposes, actually felt very unique, very new, and just refreshing, okay? So this game is a third-person action survival game, okay? You basically, to give you a brief summary of the plot, again, I'm not going to spoil anything because the story of this game is one of the best things about this game, so there are no spoilers. I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis. Basically, you play as Joel. That's the guy on the right there, that guy with the scruffy beard. You play as Joel, and you are a middle-aged guy, and basically the game starts at the very outbreak of an infection. Basically, it's kind of like, if you've ever seen the movie I Am Legend with Will Smith, it's basically a movie where there's this infection, It's never really explained how the infection starts, but there's basically this massive, massive infection, it's this virus which turns people into these kind of zombie-like monsters, and it makes them freak out, and from this, they mutate in different ways. So the beginning of the game shows you how the mutation started, and it shows Joel with his daughter Sarah, and it shows you what happens at the very beginning of the game and happens to them, and it shows you then 20 years later how Joel has kind of become hardened from all of the things that have happened to him over the years, having to survive from this apocalyptic world. Or post-apocalyptic world. So, over the course of the game, Joel basically and a friend of his, Tess, run into the leaders of the Fireflies, which are basically this rebel organization that is, it's the remnants of the militia and the army. It's basically an organized group that is trying to find a cure and try to stop this infection. So Tess and Joel come across the leader, Marlene, of the Fireflies, and she ends up handing over this girl on the left, Ellie, who is the other, I think there's a specific name. I think it's like the duo antagonist or something, or it's the other protagonist. There's a more professional term for it, but Ellie is first introduced, and she basically is very unique because, again, this might be a tad bit of a spoiler, but she actually has been bitten by one of these infected people, but she did not turn into an infected. She actually has some sort of immunity inside of her that allowed her to resist it. And this is very shocking because nobody up until this point has this immunity. So the whole game is basically you trying to bring Ellie to the main headquarters of the Fireflies so that they can extract this immunity from her system and basically make a cure across the entire world, stop the infection, and save the world from destroying itself and get humanity back on the right track before the infection. That's basically the whole goal. So you basically go to a lot. You go across pretty much the entire United States. You go to cities like Boston, Pittsburgh, under sewers, hydroelectric dams. You go to this winter. You fight in like a blizzard in this winterized zone. You fight and throughout all these areas, there's lots of different unique gameplay. The gameplay is kind of sectioned off into different parts. There's puzzle solving. So the puzzle solving is very different based on where you are and what you're trying to do. It could be as simple as, let's find a ladder. Like, oh, here's a location, here's a stairwell that's destroyed. How are we going to get up to the stairwell? Oh, let me look around for a ladder. Or how about an object like a mattress that I can move with my strength? Joel is a strong guy, so he can move other objects. So let me move these objects so I can stand on them and use them as leverage to get to higher zones. Also, with Ellie by your side most of the game, I'd say like 90% of the game you have Ellie by your side. There are some rare circumstances where you get separated, but most of the time she's with you. There are times when you actually use her to help you do things. So if there's no ladders around, you might give her a boost up. Like she could jump on your hands and you boost her up to a ledge so that you can get to a location easier. And then maybe there's a ladder there. Maybe the ladder's on the second floor and then you need her to jump up there and then she can get the ladder for you and then put it down. Basically the game kind of revolves around the AI. Ellie is AI controlled the entire game. So she's doing most of these actions. She's helping you do certain things. And there are different aspects of the game. There's the combat part, there's the swimming part, there's the kind of the platforming, puzzle-solving part. And all of these different things come together. They really do. There are times when you're going to be trying to solve puzzles and fight monsters. There's going to be times when you're trying to solve puzzles and swim. It's very different. The swimming is actually pretty unique because when you get into swimming circumstances, you have... Sometimes you're just walking through water. Other times you have to dive under the water. Maybe you have to dive under some debris to get to the other side of something, or maybe you have to pull out a plank from under the water. So the underwater gameplay basically is it combines the platforming with the underwater gameplay so that you can find your objectives. It's basically an add-on feature to the puzzle-solving gameplay that's in the game. So the basic puzzle-solving gameplay is what I just said. Finding a ladder to get across. Carrying a plank of wood as a bridge to get across somewhere. And then as you go on in the game, you have to really get creative. Like I remember the last puzzle-solving thing in the game, because Ellie can't swim, so basically you always have to be looking. Whenever there's a water part involved, you always have to get like a platform, this piece of wood for her to sit on so that she can go across. So basically, you have her sit on the platform, and then you basically, while you're in the water, you push her while she's sitting on this platform so that she can get to another area. So I believe the last challenge, you push her to this platform, she gets off, she lowers a ladder for you, you climb up the ladder, and then the ladder actually falls off the platform. Then you actually have to carry the ladder up a ledge and then drop it and use it as a bridge across another ledge. So it's pretty interesting, and I actually got it on my first try. There were some parts, I'll admit, for people who saw the footage, there were some parts where I was a little impatient planning my strategy with the combat, which I'll get to in a moment, trying to figure out the puzzles. I will admit I was kind of impatient in some parts trying to do certain things, and if I apologize if I was. I sometimes do have a tendency to rush during some parts, but usually there's no waypoint. That's another thing. There's no waypoint in this game. Usually the game gives you about, I don't know, 30 seconds to figure out what your objective is, you know, where to find the ladder or where to go, what door to open, stuff like that. And if you can't find it, then the game will give you, I think you'll hear like a chime. It'll be like bling, and then you click the left stick, and then it'll point you in the direction of where you're generally supposed to go. So it'll give you a general hint. So it's not like a complete hint, like, oh, here's what you do. Sometimes it does do that, but it's not always obvious. So it's good that it kind of gives you a 50-50. It's not completely telling you what to do, but it's also not, you know, not saying, screw you, go figure it out on your own kind of thing. So it kind of has an equilibrium. So that's the platforming side of the game. There's also the combat part of the game. There's, you know, the combat size. And there's generally two different types of enemies you're going to be fighting. You're going to be fighting the infected, and there's 3 different types of infected. I don't know if this is a spoiler, but there's 3 different types of infected. You've got the bloater, who is this giant, fat zombie who has been infected for, you know, months, years, whatever, and he's the toughest, and he throws these giant bombs of, like, gas at you that hurt you, and he's generally the toughest enemy. You have to kill him by, like, shooting the spores, or if you have, like, a powerful weapon later in the game, like the flamethrower, you can kill him quite easily. There's also the clickers, which appear very early in the game, and you pretty much, they're the main tough enemy. They are these enemies that are blind. They rely on their hearing, and you can't stealth take them down. You basically have to either have a shiv, which is like a knife. You either can only knife take them down, or you can shoot them with a gun. Okay, so you have a couple of different options for killing the clickers, and then there's the regular zombies. There's the regular infected humans. They just run at you. If they grab a hold of you, they'll shake you, and then there's a command prompt that says you have to mash square so that you can break out of their grip. Then you throw them. Then you have the option of either punching them with a melee weapon or your fists, or you can take out a gun and finish them off. The clickers, if the clickers get a hold of you, you instantly die. Other than there's actually an upgrade which allows you to break free of the clicker's grasp at the cost of a shiv. And then if the bloaters get you, that's it. If the bloater fucking gets you, you're pretty much turkey dinner. So there's no point. So basically, most of the game you have to keep your distance from the zombies, just like any other zombie game. You know, you don't want, just like in Black Ops, you don't want the zombies hitting you. You have to keep your distance and kind of plan your strategy. And this is where the combat part of the game comes in, because you have different options throughout the game. You can either go through this game running and gunning, you know, using all the guns and all the ammunition you find to finish off enemies, and, you know, because there are a lot, let me say this, there are a lot of different guns in this game. There are at least 6 different pistol combinations. There's like a magnum, a scoped magnum, a shotgun pistol, a regular pistol, and then like what's the other gun? Like a Desert Eagle. There's like so many different types of pistols, and then you have your rifles. So you got a hunting rifle, you got you've got a bow and arrow, you've got a shotgun, and then later on you actually get a flamethrower, and then in the final mission you can get a machine gun like an AK-47 M4. So there's a lot of different weapons. Plus you can also make your own grenades. I think it's called a nail bomb. There's a nail bomb which you throw it, and it's an explosion of nails which kills enemies. It's pretty much like a frag grenade for all intents and purposes. And then you also have a Molotov cocktail which you can either scavenge or create. And it's basically, it's almost like a fire grenade, like an incendiary grenade. It burns enemies. So those are basically your weapons that you're using for this game. And most of the, so you could run and gun. You could run and gun if you wanted to. Okay, now keep in mind, this game is a survival game, so there's not going to be unlimited ammunition, okay? You only have a limited amount of ammunition for all of your guns, and you don't start out with much ammunition. when you start the first mission, that girl Tess tells you, she's like, make sure every shot counts, because if you miss with your shots, you're going to get screwed because you're not going to have much ammunition. It could be a problem. So if you don't have ammunition, then you have to resort to sneaking. And when you're sneaking, you have the options of, when you sneak, you can either take down an enemy. When you're up behind them, you can press square to choke them, or you can press triangle if you have a knife to stab them really quickly. And it kills them more quickly. If you press square, you're going to choke them, and it's going to take at least 5 seconds for you to take down the enemy, and other enemies might see you during that period of time. So it might be a better option to stab them instead of choking them based on the circumstance. Okay? So that's the sneaking aspect. And while you're sneaking, you have a bunch of different options. You actually, if you press right R2 on your PS3 controller, it actually goes into this night vision. It's almost like an Arkham City, the Batman vision. Basically, it's called what is it called? It's called amplifying your hearing. It basically says hold R2 to amplify Joel's hearing, and when you do this, the whole world, like the audio drops, and basically the whole world goes into black and white, and you can actually see enemies through walls. And this becomes a critical point in the game. Most of the game, you're going to find yourself crouched, making less noise, obviously, when you're crouched, and holding R2 so you can see through walls and you can see the noise indicator above enemies, especially with the clickers, since they rely on sound. And then also the armed enemies, like the actual human enemies, which consist of the militia, the Firefly guys who are more armed, like actual soldiers. And then there's the hunters, who are just like guys who are all for themselves, like free-for-all, like mercenary bandits, just out for themselves. They don't care about anyone else. So those are the other factions in addition to the infected enemies. And you use this stealth if you so desire to take them down. Now, there are some instances where stealth is the preferred method. The game makes it pretty obvious, oh, you kind of have to be stealthy in this regard or you're going to get screwed. So there are some cases where the game makes it obvious, where you need to use stealth and you need to take down your enemies. You can't be spotted and detected. And then there's also times where you have lots of weapons. The game gives you lots of ammunition. There are some stages where you have to, like, it's almost like a zombie survival. Like, there's one mission where you play as Ellie inside a barn and you actually have to fend yourself off from all these monsters. So there are some cases where the game does want you to play it like a third-person shooter, kind of like Uncharted 3. I saw some similarities in the combat from Uncharted 3 to this game. The cover system is completely different because you're not really locking to cover. You kind of do lock to cover when you press the circle button, but it doesn't always happen. Most of the time, your guy is leaning his hand up against the wall, and then you press the R2 button so you can listen against the wall. So there's all sorts of combinations you can do in this game. There's combinations you can run and gun like a third-person shooter. You can do sneaking. You can throw bricks and bottles so that you can distract enemies so that they turn the corner. There's lots of different things you can do. Okay? Now, in addition, there's also a scavenging. Just like I said, this is a survival game. There's scavenging in this game. So you're going to be constantly scavenging ammunition for your guns. You're going to be scavenging health kits. You're going to be scavenging parts because you actually can construct, and you have I can't even speak. You have a backpack throughout the course of this game. In your backpack, if you press the select button on the PlayStation 3 controller, your guy will actually bring out his backpack, and you have a couple of different options in the backpack. You can make your own health kits and items. So you actually can make a healing kit, which gets part of your health back, and you can also make, the nail bombs and the Molotov cocktails. You can improve your melee weapon. You always have a melee weapon if you so desire. Sometimes, if your melee weapon is damaged, then you don't have a melee weapon, but you can choose to pick one up from scavenged enemies, if you so desire. But each melee weapon has a health bar, and as you use it more, the health bar goes down, and then the weapon breaks completely, and then you have to either get a new one, or through your backpack inventory system, you can actually upgrade the melee weapon so that it does more damage and or it lasts longer. So the upgrading system can be used for a couple of different things. You can use it to make more med kits, you can use it to make nail bombs, you can make those knives which do the instant kills at a stealth range. You can do a lot of different things with your backpack, and it's basically using all the stuff that you scavenge throughout the world. You go into your backpack and organize it. There's also, I don't really know what to call them, they're kind of like pills. They're capsules. As you move throughout the game, there are these little pill capsules that are pretty hidden. And as you get more capsules, you go into the menu and you can actually upgrade certain parts of Joel. Like you can increase your health, you can increase the accuracy with your guns. Because I'm going to say this right now, the accuracy, and this kind of pissed me off while I was playing the game, but I kind of understood why. This is more of a survival game, so they're not going to have you have super accuracy, like Call of Duty. Like when you aim down the gun sights in Call of Duty, your guy has like precise accuracy. The game locks to your target. In this game, that's not the case. Your guy has more of a sway. Like as he's aiming his gun, he's kind of swaying the gun all over the place, and it's harder to get a shot. And it makes sense because these characters are very tense. It's a very tense atmosphere, especially with these infected and soldiers rushing you. It's not easy to get a shot. It was frustrating me because I was trying to get simple shots, and I was getting frustrated saying, oh, the combat system is this and that and this. But looking back on it, it makes sense. And actually, one of the upgrades through this menu with these pills, I don't know what to call them, they're like these little capsules, but once you get enough pills, you can actually upgrade your weapon focus. And you can do this 2 times so that you have a way better accuracy on the enemy that you're aiming at with whatever gun it is. You can also upgrade your health. So there's a lot of different options. For a survival game, for a third-person shooter, you can pretty much play this game in a lot of different ways. In addition to the upgrading in the backpack, which you can access at any time in the game, there are actually crafting stations hidden throughout the game. You can't access them all the time. It's pretty much when the game takes like a break, when you're going to a new area, right before a new area, you might go to a crafting station where you can upgrade your guns. You can upgrade like the recoil, you can upgrade the clip size, how fast you reload the gun, and you do this again through parts that you scavenge throughout the world. So the more parts you scavenge, the more stuff you'll be able to upgrade. So scavenging and looting, the looting in this game is critical to surviving. Because if you don't loot, you're not going to have the means to make health kits, you're not going to be able to upgrade your guns so they do more damage, and you're really going to be... the game is going to be harder for you to play if you don't have this stuff, okay? Looting and taking your time, crafting, making sure you have a plan. Someone in my comments on one of my videos actually said this. Always have a plan when you go into this game. When you play The Last of Us, you always have to go into it thinking, what's this circumstance? Who am I fighting? Am I fighting infected or am I fighting humans? Okay, where are they located? Can I distract them with a bottle? Do I want to run and gun and see if I can get the upper hand on some of these enemies? How many health kits do I have? All these things you have to consider, and really it's surprising because unlike this being just a generic survival game, like some of these survival games we've seen in the past, this game has the perfect balance and it feels new. It really does feel new, and it's absolutely incredible. And through all of this, the game is wound together by an incredible story. The dialogue of these characters, the character development. This was an incredible game. Story-wise, I was floored. And I'm not going to spoil the ending, but the ending isn't actually bad. It's not one of... Like, this game is a very dark game, very gruesome deaths. It's a very mature-rated game. I was expecting the ending of this game to be very, very sad. Like, everyone fucking dies kind of thing. But the ending's actually not that bad, and the ending makes sense to how the characters are developed. So I would definitely, don't feel, oh, the ending's going to be this whole fucking cliche thing. The ending's good. Without spoiling it, I can say the ending is very, very well done. I'm just going to say that. Some people, and it actually kind of leaves the game open-ended, so we might be getting a sequel to this game, perhaps on the PS4. So who knows? I'm not quite sure at this point, but... Yeah, this game was just, I don't know. I'm at a loss as to what to call it. It's fucking phenomenal. It was really good. I was addicted to playing this game. Like, I hardcore sat down over these past couple of days, and I was playing the game intensively for hours, trying to play and play and play and play and play and play. I wanted to play this game so much. Like, I was kept, like, the story had me locked. So many times I've been playing games like Gears of War Judgment where the story is just really fucking just cliche thrown together. This game, the story was just so centralized. It's like, you feel for these characters. It feels like you're watching a TV show. It really does. It feels like you're kind of watching... For anyone who's watched the Walking Dead TV series, it kind of feels like you're watching The Walking Dead. In a sense, you know, not exactly, but in a way it feels like, you know, you're watching this series where you really care about these characters. They're in this post-apocalyptic world, and all you want is for them to survive. It's great. It's fucking amazing. And in addition, the game has multiplayer. It actually has 2 different multiplayer modes, and it's one of them's like Team Deathmatch, where basically each side, kind of like Gears of War, each side has 10 people or 20 people per team, and as you die, you lose lives, and once you run out of lives, you basically can't respawn anymore, and then it's basically every man for himself kind of thing. It's a team-based thing. Then there's the survival thing, which is basically Team Deathmatch. It's 4-on-4, and once somebody dies, they don't respawn. So it's almost like Search and Destroy from Call of Duty a little bit. And the game works in the way that as you play more, you get upgrade points, and you can put them into increasing damage on your weapons, and you can find melee weapons and stuff hidden throughout the world. It's an interesting concept, but yet again, I was kind of getting pissed in my multiplayer footage because the game seems to favor people who played it more. Like, if you played the multiplayer for The Last of Us more, you're going to have access to better equipment, better weapons, and it feels unbalanced. Because I remember I was playing just a couple of minutes ago, I had a hunting rifle. I shot the guy 3 fucking times with the hunting rifle. He shoots me once with this super sniper, I guess he got upgraded somehow, and I die in 1 hit. It's like, okay, like, how the fuck am I supposed to face off against someone who's obviously been playing it more than me, even though the game's only been out for a week at this point? So, I mean, the multiplayer, it's there, it's good, it's an addition, it's fun, you'll get some content out of it, but I think the single player is where the game shines. The single player is why you'll buy The Last of Us, okay? So all things considered, what would I rate this game out of a 10 scale? I only have 2 minutes before my camera times out, so I have to give this game a score. What would I give this game a score? I know a lot of game studios and game online publishing sites have been giving this game a 10 out of 10. What were the flaws of this game? I don't know. I mean, I don't really have that many. I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe, you know, there were only 3 different types of infected zombies. Sometimes the combat with the human enemies sometimes can get a little repetitive. I have heard some people say that there are game bugs in this game where it doesn't save properly, which I didn't have that happen to me, but some people, like my friend Kyle, said that he was having problems with the saving of the game. So I don't know if that's maybe a bug. There was like a graphical glitch in the game. There was also a point in the game where the subtitles weren't synced with what the person was saying. So there are little minor things here and there, but it wasn't, for the most part, the game was great, and the graphics. This game has probably one of the best graphics of a PS3 game I've ever seen in a long fucking time. It beats anything the 360 has in terms of graphics, so I've got to applaud the graphics. The faces and how they captured it, it was just, they really went all out, and I have to applaud Naughty Dog. So, I think I'm going to give this game a 9.75 out of 10. I know I really want to give it a perfect score, but I think if the game had I think the only thing that holds the game back is the content. If this game had a little bit more content to it, maybe if the story was a little bit longer, maybe if the multiplayer offered a little bit more, then I'd give it a perfect 10 out of 10. Because 10 out of 10 means the game has no flaws. This game has some minor things here and there, but this game is still a must-buy, so you can't let that hold you back. So, that's it. I'm going to end the video because it's about to end. So I'm the Air Lord. I hope you enjoyed my Last of Us review. 9.75 out of 10. Nearly perfect. The best game of the year so far. I can't suggest this game enough. If you have a PlayStation 3, this game is a reason to get a PS3, just to tell you. And so that's it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.